Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, we are going to be doing another doll custom using this BTS doll. I don't know which one this is, so don't come for me. Anyways, first we're gonna start by prepping the doll and popping his head off and, all that jazz. So here's he is in his headless form. And then I cut off all his hair and stuff, and now we're going to be giving him new hair. I know what you're thinking. Why is his face still there? I couldn't remove it all because these dolls' faces are so darn hard to remove. But anyways, I made his hair like out of yarn and by splitting the yarn threads, the same way I usually do. And then I rerouted it using a reroute tool. And then I stuck some glue in his head to secure it. And then I tried popping his head back on, but it broke. I broke the neck peg, so then I had to fix it. But I didn't put that in the video for some reason. I don't know why I didn't film that. I forgot. Oh wait, yes I did. Never mind. Anyways, here's the neck peg I made. And now we're going to be giving him some cool feather ears because the character I'm making him into, is an air god. And, air, feathers, birds, thematic. So I'm making his feathery ears out of some, craft foam, and I'm tracing the pattern I drew on paper onto the foam with, what is that thing called? A thread cutter thingy. And then I'm gonna cut these shapes out and then glue them to other shapes and paint them and stuff so that, he has some lovely feather ears so he can fly away with his ears. And so then we're gonna glue these together using some Elmer's glue wall. Elmer's glue wall is really good. Like, it dries really fast and it sticks things together pretty darn good. Unfortunately though, you'll see here that I glued one of them on the wrong side, so one of the ears was upside down, so I had to rip it off and then re-glue it onto the other side. Made lots of mistakes on this doll, as you'll see. So, we're gonna start by painting his body because he has very, very white skin, like clouds, and his hair is kind of like the sunset, So you get some white paint, whitish, pinkish paint to make the right skin tone for him. And I did 4 coats of paint on him, I think, on his face and body. Most of the painting though, I did with him hung up on a door so that I could reach all of his sides without having to hold him. It's actually very, very practical to do it that way. It's a good way to do it. Anyways, now we're gonna move on to painting his feather ears. This blue I used here is slightly too dark, way too dark, and so I ended up having to change that later. And then the pink that I'm gonna use in just a second will also be too pink and light. So I just end up having to repaint these anyway, so I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. I was feeling silly. But yeah. I did 3 or 4 coats of paint on these so that the little holes of the foam wouldn't show through, because that happens a lot with this kind of craft foam, the holes pop out. So you have to do a bunch of layers of paint to cover that, and then I put Mod Podge on it so that it fills in the holes and stuff and makes it smooth. But here you can see I'm correcting the colors. I'm making the pink part more purple because apparently I wasn't paying attention to my own character design. And you might be wondering, what was that thing on his chest? It was the symbol for Gemini, like all of these characters, they all have like the zodiac sign symbols on them for their respective element, and then like their their number from when they were made in a lab um on their body, because you know, markings. um and so here I'm making his pants. So I made these like very wide-legged pants, like, you know, like the ones like kind of like parachute pants. And now I'm cutting out a star-shaped pattern so that I can make him, like, I can put a star design on his, like, the ankle of his pants. So, like, see, you can see it right here. I cut it out of yellow fabric, and now I'm gonna just tack it to the, I'm gonna pin it to the pants and then sew it on. And then later, you can see here, it's all sewed on. And then I'm going to be sewing on ankle cuffs, like, you know those parts. So I sewed it on the wrong side first, and then I flipped it over, and then I sewed it inside so that, you know, I had a nice finished edge for the edge of the ankles. And he has this like kind of like Greek toga thing, because he's like a monk or whatever. You know, like, you know, the guys in the mountains that are like in there because of their religion or whatever, you know. But yeah, and then I'm making him some sandals so that he doesn't have his dogs out anymore. I'm gonna be making these out of craft foam too. And I cut 2 pieces of foam, like each for each sandal, so that it was like a little more thick, because the craft foam I have is really thin. And I just want these sandals to have more volume. And then I glued them together using some more Elmer's glue. But I just left them white because, I mean, they are white, so it doesn't really matter. Like, I didn't feel like painting them. So yeah, I just glued them together using that Elmer's glue wall again. And then I tried to sew elastic to them, but I ended up just hot gluing it to it. And so now we're going to be touching up some of the areas of where the paint scratched off of his body. And then we're going to be painting his scars on, because this dude has lots of scars because, well, he used to have wings, but he was in a war, so they got cut off in the war. And he has, you know, just general battle scars all over his body. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. He's a silly guy. And then we're gonna start painting his face. You can see here that I'm painting the scleras of the eyes, but like, you can't see it because his skin is white. So it doesn't even really, it was kind of pointless anyway, so like, I don't know why I did that. And now I'm painting the irises on. They're like, you know, light pink, as you can see. And then I'm gonna start painting on his eyebrows. I ended up having to use this like really cheap paint because I didn't have any of my nice paint in like a hot pink color. Like, none of it was bright enough. So I just ended up using that cheap paint instead, like mixed with a little bit of my fancy paint. But I ended up having to repaint his eyebrows because they were way too high up on his face. And it was just, I just had to do a bunch of layers because the paint was super thin, so it wouldn't dry. I mean, it would dry, but it would be patchy, and then I would have to put a thick coat of paint on there, and then it wouldn't dry. It was just a mess. And then I painted the shadows on to his, like, top part of his eye, and then I gave him his over-the-eye scar. Because he's a dramatic fella who, you know, has his scar over his eye. You know? He's just one of those guys. And then I painted on his eyelids with a paintbrush, which I haven't done in eons, because, well, because it doesn't look as good as when I use my paint pens. But for some reason, I decided to use a paintbrush to do the black details on his face, and it just ended up not looking super good. But, oh well. And then I also outlined his irises in his eyes because he was kind of giving Uncanny Valley. Like, I gotta be honest, he's kind of looking like Jeff the Killer right now. But then I added some shading to his face and cut his hair and stuff, whatever. And then I was like, nah, his face, kind of bad. So I ended up taking it off again with acetone because I wasn't happy with it. And then I washed his face and I repainted his skin on and I completely redid it. I did like 4 more layers of paint of his skin because he was like officially done for like a day before I repainted his face. I just kind of chose to do it on a whim. But, you know, oh well. So now I'm repainting the scleras of his eyes, but I am doing them a little farther apart this time because I feel like one of the main things that was wrong with his face was that his eyes were like way too close together, so it made him like look all weird. So I'm trying to paint them a little bit farther apart this time so he actually looks like a normal person and not like Jeff the Killer. So, and then I add in his irises and all that. As you can see, also, I added some body blushing to his, like his elbows, and I added nipples to his chest because his chest is exposed, and it looked weird without anything there. Like, it just looked weird. And then I started painting his eyebrows this time again, and I kind of made them lower on his face again. So, anyways, I painted his eyebrows, to like, and made them more like boxy shaped so that they actually have more shape to them. Instead of just being like a general round eyebrow shape. I don't know, it just didn't quite look right for him. And then I blushed his nose again, like how I did last time, like off camera. Because, well, he kind of looked lifeless and dead without the blushing on his face. So I used some of that pink paint from before and, blended it out using the white paint too, and then I did all that to give him some life in his very white skin, because he kind of looked like a ghost without it, and it was a little scary, not gonna lie. So yeah, I also added some blushing to his lips, obviously, because, lips have color to them. And then, right here, I'm adding some eye shines to his eyeballs. And his scar again, because I had to redo it. Because, we cannot leave out the scar. It's very important to his lore. And now, using the paint pen this time, I'm outlining his eyes and just doing the general black details on his face. Because it looks way better when I use the pen to do it. Because I have way more control when I'm actually just drawing it on and not, not just painting it on. And I also made his lips a little thinner because it just kind of looked weird, like when he had like super, super thick lips. I don't know why I did that the first time. And finally, we're adding his pupils in. And he looks good now. Anyways, here are the photos, and thank you for watching this video. Please like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.